At age 14, I was at the junior high school student, the second grade junior high school student, and I've listened to heavy metal for the first time. And the moment I heard, I was like, oh, this is what I want. They had a song called I Want Out. And when I heard that song, I felt, this is me. I want out to live my life alone. I want out to leave me be. I want out to do things on my own. I want out to live my life and to be free. And then through these experiences, my mom, who was very much against my dream until then, changed her attitude, and she said, I'm going to support your dream now because I understood you were meant to do this. I don't want you to finish halfway. You did the right thing, and it's really sad that someone who follow the goodness have to give up. I'm going to support you. Do it till the end.
This is my conversation with Saeko Kitamae, a heavy metal artist from Osaka, Japan. To support the podcast, please consider subscribing or following the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And with that out of the way, here is Saeko Kitamae. All right, Saeko. So good to see you. We already spoke a little bit before the conversation, and you were telling me about how you grew up in Osaka. And we specifically also talked about your time in the Netherlands and the directness of the Dutch people, and how generally that contrast with the more indirectness that the Japanese people have, except for when where you came from, Osaka. You said that because it's a merchant town, people there generally seem also to be very direct.
Yeah,
Can you tell me a little bit more about Osaka?
Oh, yeah, the people from Osaka is quite different from people from other cities, and especially the image that the non-Japanese have for a Japanese is coming from Tokyo, I think, the Tokyo people. And then they were quite distant. They are not that direct. And so actually we people in Osaka have trouble understanding them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a completely different culture, because in Osaka you mentioned it's like classically it is a merchant city or town, I suppose, back then. While Tokyo is more like it's a business center, but it's also a technological hotspot.
I rather say it's a city of bureaucrats.
Right, the political system is also there.
Yeah, and then of course this difference is becoming smaller and smaller because of the TV and the internet and everything. And then now people are easily, we can move from one city to another. So the difference is becoming smaller and smaller. But originally, the culture-wise, for example, the people in Tokyo tend to be proud of the company, like how big company they are working for. But typically the Osaka people are more like, so what? I am independent. I mean, like I am running my own business. It might be a small business, but I am the business owner, something like that.
I think it lays a good groundwork for. So there's a couple of reasons I'm really excited to talk to you. I'm really excited to talk to you to learn more about the Japanese culture, to learn more about Osaka, where you came from, for a couple of reasons. So Japan is a country that I have never gone through, although I'm planning on coming. And when I come, I'll probably go there for a couple of months instead of just for a week or two, because I think it's really a country that deserves a lot of attention when you go there. It's like it's the culture over there, and well, I'm a big food fan, so the culture, the food, the people, the mentality, the wisdom, and the products, and what is coming out of Japan is so gigantically interesting, at least to me, that this is to me a country that needs to be experienced. Like I think you can say this about a lot of people within, for example, Europe and the United States and the West in general, that Japan is a big influence on multiple levels, both in culture, both in video games, to some degree also in music, especially with, for example, things like J-pop coming from there. But also anime, and mangas and those kind of things. And Japan is being seen as this, at least from my eyes, is being seen as this country that has this inherent beautiful and pure and rich and very old and ancient traditions and culture, which the Japanese seem to be also defending fiercely. And I think rightfully so, because it's really something to see when you look at it. There's nothing quite like it, I think. So, yeah, with that landscape out there, you were born in Osaka, and you grew up in Osaka for I believe a long time, if I'm not mistaken. Can you take me back to Osaka? Can you tell me how it was like growing up there?
As a student, you have to say the similar things with others, and you have to be like one of them. And if you are different from others, you will have a bit of problem. And the study-wise, I think both very good students and very bad students had to experience tough time, because you have to be like average, and I really don't like.
But when you say this, so about the education, okay, so we're zooming in on education. So your junior high moment, when you say when you stand out, you get hammered down. What do you mean? Was there no place for exceptionality and for being very good at something?
Yeah, like
what do you mean?
For example, if you get if you take some exams and the answers are kind of decided, you have to follow the, how can I say, like forms, the official way of answering. And as a student, I already knew which is not the only answer, but I know I should answer that way, otherwise I will not get the mark. And if I ask the question like to some teachers, like, I don't think so, and then they're like, you have to think that way. But I was like, no, I don't think so, And I was a very critical kind of student who always find the questions which most teachers have problem to answer with, to answer. And some teachers might even, I feel maybe they didn't even understand my questions, but I read the text, I understand the text, but I often find something was, how can I say, like, it's not reflecting the true answer.
It's not the full picture.
Yeah. But I had to pretend that I don't know about it. I had to pretend that I feel this is the right answer. And also, you had to wear the same clothes, and you had to have a same black hair. If your hair is a bit brighter, that's a problem. And especially my time, like your bangs had to be over the eyebrow, things like that. Everything was very strictly
uniform.
Yeah, following the one rules. And yeah, sometimes we feel like, oh no, I want to do something different, but
yeah, this may be, and once again, correct me if what I'm saying is wrong, because my knowledge on Japan is basically just from media. It's I've never been there, so, and I've never lived there, so I might. So correct me please if what I'm saying is wrong. But to me, this sounds to be an extension of the spirit of Japan in general, because to me, as a Westerner, Japan
Mm,
seems to be a country um, that is not so focused on the individual and is more
mm,
focused on the community. So
mm,
it feels to me like the Japanese are taught from a very young age to be not in support of themselves per se, but to be to be in support of their community and their country, and to help each
mm,
other and to grow. And maybe that's also I think where that uniformity comes from. Everybody has to wear the exact same clothing.
mm,
I think for a couple of reasons. So a couple of practical reasons I could think of is then you can see from a student who is rich and who isn't.
mm,
So there's less chance of people being picked on, for example, because they occupy either one of those economical positions.
mm,
But it also goes down to, yeah, like you said, not standing out. Because if you're not able to stand out with your clothing because you want to wear, the most expensive brands or the most colorful clothing, to really put your personality out there, that seems to be going against the spirit of that whole community-driven
mm,
aspect
mm.
of Japanese people. Would that be a fair summary, or would you say that that's wrong or incomplete in some sense?
No, I think, yeah, that's actually like that. And so I understand there are some good side on of it,
Hmm.
but for example, if everyone has to follow the one rules, and if this rule is wrong, what's going to
Right.
happen, right? So there is I think this is a problem of um, how can I say, like the
Yeah, just don't just follow it blindly.
mm,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
if everyone follows the wrong rules, in the end, it's going to lead to corruption and yeah, unfair things as a
Hmm.
society. And I don't think it's right way. As an individual, although I respect others and I respect the community, as an individual, I feel I also have a responsibility to judge things by myself and say something if the rule is wrong. But if you say so, you will be kicked out from the
Right.
society. Yeah, because 99% of the people there, they know the rule and they feel like they should not say no. So you tend to end up being just one person who said no, and you cannot
Hmm.
win the these many great number of people.
Yeah, then you are the only one going against the whole system, pretty much.
Yes, maybe until I enter junior high school, maybe because I was still very small, but I didn't see this kind of um, dilemma. I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed my everyday, and I enjoyed the school life and the education itself. I actually enjoyed. I was able to ask many questions, and I had more freedom to express myself. And I think it's because at the elementary school we don't need to care about the university exams yet. But from the moment we enter the junior high school, the adults around us just they think about we need to put as many students to the university as possible
Hmm.
to to do yeah. And then if you go to the cram school, the teachers they are going to be also checked from someone above, I think, in of the cram school, like maybe CEO or someone, how many students who you taught went to a great university. So everyone, I got the impression everyone forgot the real meaning of education, but they just try to put us through the university examination like a machine, like we are on the conveyor belt.
And that works for a lot of people, I think, that idea. Just give them a set of rules, tell them what to do, tell them what to learn, tell them what the information is, and just go along with that.
And nowadays, younger generations are a bit different. I think this is my impression. I don't know, but my impression is so. But when I was younger, I mean, I'm already actually 50 years old. So when I was at the junior high school, which means like more than 30 years ago, nearly 40. But anyway, long time ago, okay? And so back then, at the junior high school, actually there were quite a number of students who fought with teachers. Like every day, at least one window got broken.
Right.
Because we are like struggling to keep our conscience or our free mind, and this pressure from the society, which says you have to turn your blind eye, even if there is the immoral thing going on.
So walk me through this, because this you're talking right now about. Correct me if I'm wrong. About the late 80s or beginning 90s. That's when you went to junior high, and you were saying like, okay, so the landscape that you laid out right now is that there's a lot of uniformity within the school system, within the education system, at least back then. So you had the same clothing, you had the same hairstyle, you were expected to behave in a certain way, you were expected to give the answers in a certain way, and there wasn't much room for creative exploration. So for asking questions, why something is the way it is, or even questioning if it is even the thing they say it is, stuff like that. So two questions here. One is, what kind of kid do you think you were back then, in the sense of, were you a very exploratory kid? Were you very curious? How would you describe yourself in like your teens? And the second question is, how did you actually deal with that limitation of not being able to explore, at least not within the educational system as you just described it?
Yeah, actually, that's why I decided to sing heavy metal.
At that age already?
No, I at age 14, I was at the junior high school student, the second grade junior high school student, and I've listened to hard rock heavy metal for the first time. And the moment I heard, I was like, oh, this is what I want. Okay, I will do this.
And you were 14 back then, and
Yeah.
there was already a metal scene going on within Japan.
But there was music TV back then, and the Bon Jovi and Europe and some other foreign bands were playing on TV. I mean, and some big bands were coming to play in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know, but there is a German band called Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
I don't know them, no.
Halloween was quite big back then.
Gotcha.
Still big, but back then especially, they were so big. And they had a song called I Want Out. And when I heard that song, I felt, this is me. Yes, I want out. And then in the chorus part, they sing like, I want out to live my life alone. I want out to leave me be. I want out to do things on my own. I want out to live my life and to be free. Something like that. And I thought, exactly. This is what I want to do. Yeah. So I was listening to this kind of music every day already.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the answer to the question then is, there wasn't much freedom within that system to do exploration. So you found alternative ways to explore, and finding heavy metal was for you the way to do that exploration.
Yeah. And also I read a lot of books back then, but yeah.
So what then? You got introduced to it, and did you already have this vision that you wanted to that you wanted to play in it? Were you more like a listener, or were you somebody who said like, okay, I want to do something with this?
Well, at 14, I decided to make a world tour with my own band because I
Oh,
was
you
still
already started your own band.
because I was still 14. I didn't know how tough it is.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I thought because Europe, they were coming from Sweden and they were making a big world tour. And I checked the Sweden on the map, and then because the maps we buy in Japan is written Japan in the center, and so Sweden seems to be at the edge of the world, and it's not that big compared with the U.S. And so I thought, okay, if the people from this Sweden can do this, why not me? I'm from Japan. I should be able to do that. That's
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
I thought. And I thought, but if they were not able to speak English, probably they were not able to do this either. So I, as a Japanese, but I should speak English to make a world tour. That's what I thought back then. But as a 14-year-old, I didn't have any money to do anything. So I started to practice writing autograph.
Hmm.
And also I started to answer the interview in English
Hmm.
every night. That's what I did back then. But
And answer the interview in English, so you were looking
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah,
interviews
yeah,
and you
yeah, yeah,
were
yeah.
imitating it.
Because I hear the radio interview,
Hmm.
and I try to do the same.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
okay. So then it's like a question,
just
and
by
you were
myself. It's stupid.
right.
Just by myself on every night before going to bed. I sat on my bed, and asked question like, "Oh, how did you find your members?" And I was like, "Oh, it was a magic." Because that kind of answer I often hear in the radio interview, like, "Hey, when he played the guitar, there was a magic," or something like that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I practiced every night.
This is super interesting about the metal scene in general. So I have a little bit of a history also in that scene, not as a musician at all, but there's a couple of bands I also used to listen to back in that time. And it's funny that you mentioned what was the name of the band again from Sweden that you said?
The band I heard back then,
Yeah,
like I started from Bon Jovi, Europe, and then Halloween,
Halloween.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's Germany.
Halloween, yeah, from Germany. And I found a lot of good bands from Germany and Italy, like
Hmm.
Rhapsody of Fire.
Yeah, because that's funny because I listened to a couple of your songs, and the first band that came to my mind, and I believe they are either from Norway or from Sweden, but the first band that came into my mind that seemed to be an influence, or at least in a in a very related genre, was Vader.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if you know that one. Okay, yeah. So once again, my knowledge is not on par to say in general, but to me it seems that there's a very specific musical style within the Scandinavian countries, and that
Mm,
is the idea that I got when I was listening to your music. So that
really?
seems to be, at least to me, it seems to be related. So it's pretty funny that you mentioned that Swedish band as one that you really like.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's kind of
yeah.
it's really funny that metal has this thing about it. It's this thing that people, young people, generally teenagers, who feel that they can't explore either
Mm.
creatively or intellectually, or they just don't belong in a group, or they have like a social disconnect from their peers, things like that. Somehow metal is like an outlet for these
Yeah.
for these kids.
Yeah,
um
or other rock bands. Like there were
yes.
also Japanese domestic rock bands, but I was more into heavy metal, the international ones. Yeah.
Hmm. What do you think, why do you think those kids are drawn to heavy metal? What is it?
Yeah,
Why not jazz music? Why not pop music? Why heavy metal?
because we are frustrated, we are suppressed, and we have to release our energy, and then sometimes the anger, but you can release. this kind of feeling, and not only the negative feeling, the also positive feeling, but so much energy is kept inside, and we feel like, oh my God, I have to bang my head, right? And I feel maybe that's why the heavy metal is so popular also in Germany, because in a different way, I felt in Germany, because I lived quite a long time, maybe nearly 10 years actually, in Germany. And so I felt there's a different kind of social pressure, like you have to always follow the rules. It's very different from the Netherlands. I felt the Netherlands is more, the people are more laid back. That's my impression. But in Germany, somehow you have to be like very strict in a different way from Japan, but strict machine in a way. And they're always like, okay, if the rule is this, let's go this way and that way, like that. So maybe the people there also have kind of frustration. Maybe that's why heavy metal is also popular there. This is just my analysis, but also the heavy metals music are also popular in South America. And I have never been there, but I imagine maybe people also have frustration more. Maybe in some country they are more. I'm sorry if people feel I'm discriminatory or something, but this is just my image. But maybe they are more having a financial problem or something. Maybe that's why this kind of music are popular in Japan, and especially like Germany. And yeah, that's my analysis. If people are feeling so happy with their life and content, I think they will not listen to heavy metal. There is no reason to listen to that kind of music.
Yeah, I think there's a couple
right?
I think there's a couple of things in there. So you mentioned frustration and anger as a driving force that drives kids or people in general towards heavy metal, and I think that's true.
Yeah, and
It's
also some positive feeling, like I want to change this or I want to do something.
right.
Yeah?
It's like a very rebellious way to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Right, to step outside of the status quo and just, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, just leave me alone, let me do my creative thing. That's what's driving them. And it's okay. That's one thing that I think that drives people towards heavy metal. But what you said at the end is also very interesting. Why would you, because you asked the question just now. The question that you asked is, why would you listen to heavy metal when you are happy? And to be quite honest, I'm pretty happy, but I listen to it all the time. I have a couple of bands that I really like. So, for example, Rammstein, which is a industrial metal band from Germany. I went to see them actually a couple of years ago. Insanely good. The quality of their performance is out of this world. And if I ask them myself the question, okay, if you are happy, why would you listen to a band like that? Well, maybe it's good to go to the dark side every now and then, just to see how it is.
Maybe. Yeah.
Just to keep in touch
for
with
a change.
That. There's these specifically in Rammstein songs, for example. There's these underlying stories in there. It's like poetry. It's literally like poetry. It's like reading the Grimm brothers. It's literally poetry. There's this song, and for anybody who's listening who wants to check it out, there's this song, Puppe, Puppa, which is German for doll. And this song is literally about a kid with his doll in his house, being left alone and being abandoned by his mother, who is leaving for a certain profession every evening, while at the same time he hears what's happening next door to a family member, and then that song is about the experience from that kid and how he goes through that every single night and the frustration that builds up into that kid, and then what he does with his doll. He rips his doll apart out of pure frustration and anger, even rage, and it's so check this out for everybody who's listening. But it's these kind of stories. It's like it's so dark, but at the same time, it's so human, and you really understand, what's in there and what's driving it, and how, you can even understand that if you listen to the lyrics closely, how that kid must feel, and why he does the things that he does. And it's good to have that experience. It's not just, the world is not just flowers and rainbows and ponies.
Yeah.
Heavy metal, I think, is one way to keep in touch with
the dark side, the real.
Yeah, not necessarily the dark side, but it's to keep in touch with that aspect of humanity. Because again, it's not all just flowers and rainbows. We humans, we suffer, we have sorrow, we grieve. Shutting that out is basically cutting out half our humanity.
Right.
Where okay, you mentioned rage and anger as a driving force towards heavy metal. Did you have a lot of anger as a teenager?
No, but I had a lot of frustration.
Frustration. Where did that come from, you think? So you mentioned the educational system already, which limited your let's call it your exploration, your capability to explore. Were there other things that would be a driving force towards metal?
But it's also related. Everything is kind of related to that, because I was still a student. But I thought, why is a society like that? And then, because back then Japan was still experiencing the bubble, this economical bubble, and then people.
Right. Okay.
To my eyes, it seemed like everyone is just caring about money. Everything is about money and money and money and consumption. And I was like, what is this? Why people don't think about something more important than money? And I didn't like that. And then my conclusion back then as a student was because of this system. Like they don't teach us what is right, anything more, how can I say, like a genuinely, authentically important in life, but we just learn everything just by heart, just to get through the exam and get the university. And then there are people, the university students, they actually just kill time because the graduation from the university meant the entering path to the good company. And then the young people back then, they were like, I want to work for that company. And then I asked why, and they were like, because I can earn a lot of money. And I was like, why?
It was just about the money.
I wanted to hear the answer, like, because I want to do this, and I want to contribute this way to the world, or something else. But everyone's like, because that company is big, because you can earn a lot of money. And I thought, well, this is a result of this stupid education system that everyone has to say the same thing. And I wanted to change this society, I mean, in general back then. And I thought, then what I can do as a student is just to say different thing, although I will get kicked out, and I will wear something different, and I will prove others that there is a way to live without just blindly following the rule. Although I do follow the rules if the rules are right, but I don't follow them blindly, because I for example, at junior high school, I forgot the details, but the teacher did something very unfair. And all students in my classroom, they were complaining about it, but no one was able to say that, because if you say anything, no, everyone was just complaining in the classroom. And I thought, okay, I will talk to her. So I went to the teacher's room, open the door and please, the teacher, come here. And then I told her why it was unfair to everyone, and then asked her why, to explain why she did it. And in the end, she wasn't able to explain it in a reasonable way. And she admitted it was her mistake to do such an unfair thing. And then she apologized to me. And then she changed I forgot what, but she changed what she did. And but the next month or next term, I got the worst score in my, how can I say it? In Japan, we get the score at the end of the term. And then this score decides which high school you can enter. So if you get the low score, you will lose your future possibility. So it is very important. And I was like, this is so unfair, you know? I saw that kind of thing many times. So I wanted to change that. And I thought it is important to prove, to lead in a different way and to show them there is a way to say no.
But wait, why did you, so this low grade that you got, and this low grade was fundamental because this low grade decided your future in education. And you mentioned you got a low grade because you talked to her?
Yes, obviously.
Because you were outspoken?
Because I was a very good student. It was a music class. And I was one of the, I shouldn't say this to I shouldn't say this myself, but well, I'm a musician. And of course I was a good student in music. And it's impossible to get this lowest grade for that class. But obviously she wrote the lowest grade because I said no to her, because I pointed it out.
Yeah, this is that same teacher. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, back then I was like, okay, this is the way of the world. Okay, but I will not give up. And the good thing was, this was a grade for music, and music was not that important to decide high school, because the other things like a Japanese or math or English, these scores are more important. So in the end, I was able to go to a good school, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So when I first understood you, I thought it was the grade that would decide your future, but it was just music that you got the low grade for. The rest was fine.
Yeah. But
So
if this was not music, if this was a math class, and if I got the lowest score in the math, probably I will not be able to go to a average high school.
I think I understand why you went to heavy metal. So it sounds to me like you as a kid, you were really looking for your own place. Like you said, you would follow the rules to a certain degree, but you will not follow them blindly. And you would ask questions, and you would question those rules if they weren't correct, at least within your eyes with the context that you had. And to me, it sounds like you were trying to do that. You were trying to explore that in pretty much your whole childhood. Within education, there wasn't much room to do that. And that gave you feelings of frustration. And you try to give that a place somewhere. You try to do something with that. And when you heard the heavy metal scene for the first time, you identified that place, and you went for that. Would that is that a correct summary? Because I'm very curious if that is correct.
Correct. And also, I read so many books.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What did you? Just out of interest, what kind of books did you read? So, what did you read, and why did you read them?
Mostly philosophy, ethics, history.
As a 14-year-old.
Yes. Because I wanted to know why I mean, like I said, I had a lot of frustration about the society, and I wanted to have a better society. And why people are like that? How can I change this? And how should I live in this place? And I wanted my answer. And so I read a lot of books, and also religious books, also like Bible too. And yeah.
Did it help?
Yes.
In what way?
Oh, I thought at least actually when I first read the book written by a Japanese writer, which is called the New Testament story. It's a Bible, but she did a lot of research and visiting the places. She analyzed what the lines meant, and so it was like really a story. And I read that. I think I was like 16, 17 back then, and actually I cried because the words I saw in the society, a lot of good things were suppressed or killed for the propriety or for the sake of, I don't know, like the
community.
Yeah. And everyone said like, this is a way of the world. You have to close your eyes and just pretend that everything's fine. But then I found that there is a kind of beautiful belief that I wanted to believe, like that if you believe in something, you will have it. And if you give it, you will be given. That kind of very beautiful things, right? And I wanted to believe it. I was like, this has to be true, or this should be true, because otherwise there is no hope. I mean, if someone who makes dirty tricks gets money all the time, it's not fair, right? So I wanted to believe what's written there. And you know, I because I read in Japanese back then, I don't know the exact phrase in other languages, but also it says like you must follow the path, the narrow path, right? And so to me, this was like, okay, if you believe something is right, say it, even though it is a different narrow path and it might be harder, but right. So I was like, okay, I want to believe what's written here, and I want to prove that what's written here is really correct.
It's true.
And so, true. So inside me, this was connected, doing heavy metal and following the path of God or whatever. As a Japanese, I don't like to call it with a certain name, because I also understand the Shintoism kind of view. And also I read some Buddhism thing, like a Zen Buddhism, or the Jodo Shinshu, which is in English called Promised Land sect of Buddhism, which is very popular. And I understand what they teach there. And so, and actually myself think probably they are talking about almost the same thing, but the languages are different, and the time they wrote or explained that were different, and the society or the culture the people are living were different. That's why these teachings are written in a different way, but the core idea, to me, to my eyes, seemed quite similar. So I don't want to call them with a certain name, but I personally believe what's written in the Bible as well. So I wanted to prove that. Yeah.
How did you go about of proving that? So what steps did you take after learning those? Well, I would say very meaningful lessons as a 14-year-old. What did you do? What did you do with that information?
No, I thought, okay, because I'm going to sing this music,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like because you can write your message there, and then you can perform in front of others. So this
Mm-hmm.
is like you are giving a. I don't want to say giving a. I don't want to say the preaching or anything, but
No, but
you can
you're expressing your message.
yeah, and you can
Mm-hmm.
spread this light
Yeah.
through your music and the performance. And I thought this is what I should do with my life. And everyone said, you're crazy. And especially back then, the heavy metal was more manly thing. There were almost no females in the scene. So everyone said to me, like, it's impossible. But I had to prove that it's not impossible. And so this was connected in me.
You weren't just fantasizing, you said. You had a vision.
It was more like revelation. I knew.
Mm-hmm.
It was not like I want to do this. I knew, okay, I will do that.
Right.
So I felt, okay, I just follow the path. I just follow the calling, and I will prove that by my performance that there is a different way of life, and I will spread the positive message to the people, at least to my listeners. And yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's how I try to make it.
How did you go from that 14-year-old girl listening to heavy metal and having this vision of doing that herself to actually performing it internationally? How did you build that?
I had no idea. And but I thought at one point, okay, maybe I should release the result. I should forget and kind of surrender to what I have, and without caring what's going to come in the end, just put all my energy and put all my heart into the moment right now I have to do my best to follow my heart. And then little by little, I started to form a band, and I played in the band,
How
and
did you
this
find the
became,
people?
I put out flyers everywhere.
Mm.
I went to the instrumental shops and the studios everywhere in Osaka and Kyoto, which is the next city. I went really everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of scary as a high school or university student back then, and as a girl, because most of these shops were they had only male assistants, male shoppers, no, male staff members,
Mm-hmm.
and then they looked like a really, like rocking kind of long haired and the pierced, and they looked very like a violent.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like the
at,
typical metal people.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I at first kind of scared to do that, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, let's do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I did every week. And then finally, little by little, although it was very tough, and actually to form a band, to find all members for each different part, it took 6 years.
And how many people are we talking then? So after 6 years, how many people did you have in total?
Me and two guitarists, bassist, and drummer, 5. But even without actually it was very hard to find a drummer. So with the supporting drummer, we kept playing our live shows every month for some years. But when I got all not support members, all full members. I think for that I spent 6 years. And I was super happy when I made it.
So you were around 20 years old then when you had everybody.
No, actually already I was like 25. We got some offers from record labels. It's going to be a very long story, so I have to make it short. But
no, but you were before. So okay, so just to let me get this straight. You had this idea when you were 14. You were first introduced, and you started handing out flyers then.
No. Handing out flyers later.
Was later. Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
I played with. At first, I tried to make a band with my friends.
Okay.
At high school. But I realized none of them really seriously meant to do a world tour.
Right. Okay. So it was just for fun, pretty much for them.
So when I was at 20, I decided, okay, I have to find someone who is as serious as me.
Right. To be serious about it. Okay.
Yeah. And so I have to get out of my circle. That's how I started to hand out flyers everywhere.
Right, and that took around 5 or 6 years before you got everybody. So then you were 25.
Yeah. But before that, I was so scared to do that. So I tried to find someone with my friends' circle, but no, it
well,
didn't.
It's a very good way to start. It allows you to play around to get used with the music, I suppose. So it's very valuable in that sense. But I guess it made a lot of sense that when you were 20, that you were ready to take the next step because you were clearly serious about it, and especially if you have the same vision 5 years down the line, you're pretty damn serious about it.
And then you are really serious about world tour.
Yeah. Then it's not just an idea anymore.
You have to do it. And I even thought of going to US to find members, but then I realized, oh no, I don't have money to do that.
Were all your members back then Japanese?
Yeah.
Okay, all Japanese. Gotcha. So what happened? So you were 25. You had all the band members together. Now it is time to get serious.
Yes.
So to me, I've never produced an album, so I'm really curious. What steps did you take? What did you do? What did you make? How did it work?
Actually, before that, we are already known in the scene in Osaka and also in Tokyo because I was very good. So everyone was like, "Wow, she's great," and this kind of reputation goes around. And then we were already invited to play in other cities. So when I finally got the drama, I was like, okay, finally, we will make it. But then the record company came and some people like live house owners, booking manager, they were like thinking, I'm going to be a very successful professional heavy metal musician. So they tried to push me to get a deal and to be successful. But then I was told to copy already popular band from Europe to sell. And I didn't want to. Because back then, most Japanese bands were just copies of some foreign bands, to be honest. And otherwise, it was not possible, or at least it was not easy to get a deal. Like, if you know the music abroad, and when you turn on TV and you can tell, okay, this is a Japanese version of Cyndi Lauper, or Japanese version of Kiss, Japanese version of something.
Japanese version of everything.
Yeah. And I didn't like it because, like I said, to me, the music was very much connected to my philosophy, and it's rather my religion in a way. So I cannot just change my style like that. It should be as real and as true as possible, coming from my deepest heart. I
It
cannot
needed to be
change my
you.
style. Yeah, just to sell. Because it's like you're selling your soul to the evil or something. And I said no. And then I got a lot of pressure from all my friends because they were like, oh, Saeko is stupid. She throw away the chance. She was able to become very successful. She was able to be famous, blah, 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 blah. Even my boyfriend back then, although I had been thinking that he is my supporter, but he also said like, you're wrong. You should just write the song like them. And then if you become successful, then you can do what you want because that's how the world works. And I told him no. And also, as a leader of the band, I was working so hard to make ends meet. And it was not easy in Japan because if you live in a different way, you cannot have a good job. And so your earnings are very limited, but you have to spend a lot of money for band recording and everything. And so it was so hard, and I was working hard. Maybe like I was sleeping only 3 hours a day and every day for more than a year. And so the fatigue was, I think, accumulated in my body as well. And then mentally, I was feeling like everyone is saying I'm wrong. And so at one point, I fell down, and I was actually hospitalized, and I had to stop everything.
What happened?
Until then, my mom was very much against my music because she was thinking like this is a stupid dream. But then because I was put into a hospital and I was actually nearly almost, I could have died actually.
So what happened? Why were you hospitalized?
No, I wasn't able to move at all. And I wasn't really able to talk. It was like unbelievable amount of fatigue. And if someone starts talking next to me, I wasn't able to understand because to understand someone's conversation, you have to use your brain. But my brain was not able to process the information. And I was like nearly, how can I say, like shouting, like, please stop. And anyway, I wasn't able to do anything.
Was it like an infection or something, or did they figure out what it was?
No one knows what happened, but later, the doctor of the hospital told me at first he thought maybe this is a kind of schizophrenia or something because I was still able to do a show. I was able to perform my live shows, which was impossible because I wasn't able to do anything. I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't able to stand. But somehow I was able to perform the show. And my doctor at first, because of that, thought maybe it's a mental illness and schizophrenic thing or something because I have one identity here which cannot move, but another identity can perform shows, something like that. But later, while I was in the hospital, he told me he realized this is not the case. And he told me, although it's very hard to explain, but he thinks because I pushed to the limit. And like I said, everyone was saying what I was doing was not possible. And then I was accumulated so much fatigue in my body. So it was really not possible probably, but because it was closely related to my belief, I didn't stop. I tried to push myself over the limit. And according to the doctor, he thinks, so I actually pushed too much, and then probably the brain felt maybe this is the limit of my life. So at one point they decided to shut down so that I will rest.
Now, as an adult, looking back on that time, what do you think it was?
To tell the truth, before that, since I was 14, actually I was hearing the voice of God or something. It's hard to explain, but the reason I felt, okay, I was going to do this at the age of 14 was when I first heard that kind of music, I really felt I got the revelation kind of things from somewhere. Like, you are born to do this. And then after that, I was keep on hearing it all the time. And this voice was so beautiful. And so I was following that voice, to tell the truth. I usually don't talk this because it sounds strange. But now, without explaining this, I cannot give a good explanation. So, but during the time I was in the hospital, this voice stopped. And but the funny thing was, while I was doing the show, the power came from above, and I was able to do the show.
So it was like a calling. It came to you. You had to do this. Something bigger than yourself gave you the strength to do the show. And the moment that the show was done, you fulfilled that calling, and then that voice went away again. And with that, the strength.
Yeah, and also while I was in the hospital, I sometimes shouted or cried, almost unconscious. And my mom was there all the time. And then once I told her, according to her, she explained to me later, according to her, I told once, I wish this was just 40 days and 40 nights. As you know, you had to experience this darkest period, but then later you will see the truth, right?
The light.
Yeah. So like this Bible episode, I said like, oh, I wish this is just 40 days and 40 nights. And my mom, she didn't know what it meant, but she researched, she checked what it was, and she understood. And later, when I played the performance for the second time during my hospitalization, I was still from hospital. I went to the live hall and then came back to the live hospital after the show. And then I woke up, and then all of a sudden this dark kind of heavy thing was lifted, and when I opened the window, it was still very early in the morning, and I saw the light coming through the clouds, and I heard the voice like, you won. And when I saw the flowers by my bed, which the one of the listeners brought me the night before at my performance, at my live show, and I guess my mom put it there in the vase. So I saw these flowers in the vase, and it was so beautiful. I cannot really explain it, but it was shining, and it's like you often see the slow motion of the the slow motion, like the fast motion of some flower from the seed, and like like in the
it's growth. It's growth.
Yeah, the education class or something. It was like that. It's hard to explain, but I felt like I'm seeing the energy of each cell, how it comes to life and grow, and it was moving and it was shining. It was so beautiful, and I started to cry. And then I went outside, and from there I opened the window and it saw, and the whole world was like that, brightly shining everywhere. every like human beings or the life was shining. Each cell was shining alive. And I was like, oh my God. And then the nurse came in, and then I told her like, oh my God, this world is so beautiful. And I know the life is tough, but everything in the end will be saved because of, how can I say it? That's the power of life and something like that. And then I remember the nurse started to cry together, embracing me and saying like, why are you saying this nice thing? And because this was kind of how can I say, my English vocabulary is limited, but very shabby, kind of not rich hospital, because this was actually a Christian hospital. And then the doctor, he was not that interested in earning money. Of course, they were making money to keep on keep business going, but they were not making so much money. And then the nurses were working so hard, so maybe that's why she cried. And after that, I actually got out of the hospital because I became very well. And later, my mom told me, you know what? I was so surprised because you remember the day that you said you heard this voice which said you won. I counted the dates. Actually, it was the 40th after you enter the hospital. And I was like, no, it cannot be, but I counted. It was the 40th. So I don't know how to explain this, but I felt there was some kind of power over physical law. I don't know. That was working behind. And it's hard to explain, but that's how I got out of hospital. And then through these experiences, my mom, who was very much against my dream until then, changed her attitude, and she said, I'm going to support your dream now because I understood you were meant to do this. And she told me, don't give up on halfway. And in the end, without her, I wasn't able to go to Germany because she told me, she said, if you really want to go to Germany to try your music, go, because I'm going to support you. I don't want you to finish halfway. You did the right thing. And it's really sad that someone who follow the goodness have to give up. I'm going to support you. Do it till the end. And so I was able to go to Germany.
What did it mean for you hearing that from your mother after all these years?
I was happy because she was misunderstanding me all the time. And yeah, I was happy. And then she also actually told me she was against my dream because she knew it was not easy. She told me, although she was always saying something bad about that, in the deepest mind, she was hoping somewhere in her deepest mind that I will win over her and prove that my competence, my willpower, and my energy, everything, like a technique and everything, she was hoping that I'm going to prove her, getting over her. So she was like, okay, you won, I lost. And now I'm going to support you because I believe in you. So I was happy.
Well, maybe she didn't lose. It sounds to me like you both won. because you got your life back, you got your spirit of play back, you got your enthusiasm back, you saw the beauty in the world again, and you are ready to take it on. And at the same time, your mother got her daughter back, and your mother got, she saw you getting stronger and going for the challenge that the world provided for you. So to some degree, you both won in that sense.
Yeah. But I understand her way of expression because how can I say, she was feeling like to become a musician, there would be a lot of hurdles, and you have
Right.
to
Yeah.
win
Okay.
every
Okay.
time. And then she was like, I wanted to be your biggest hurdle to get over, and then you won. Because the reason is my mom was a super good singer,
She was a
and
singer
she
herself.
not the professional, but the naturally super talented and a super good singer. And then she got the champion like awards everywhere. And then one day, a very famous music professor visited her and saying, I have never heard voice like yours. And I'm very sure if you get trained by me, you will be an international opera singer who can play around the world. And then because he was a very famous one in opera world, so he was like, that was my dream to train someone to perform in the world. And I find you. I'm sure you will be the one. Please come to our university. But my mom was good naturally, and she didn't have any music education. And then back then, my mom's family was not that rich either. I mean, they were probably poorer than average. So my grandma back then told her, like, no, you cannot make it. It's just a stupid dream. And then even if you enter the university now, that you will be surrounded by all other students who had this good music education since when they were a child. And can you follow that? Of course, you will not make it. And so after thinking for some time, my mom gave it up. And so that's why when I was born, since when I was a child, I was given music education. And she didn't push me to sing because later she explained, because she was good naturally, so she thought I'm supposed to be good naturally if I was like her. And then she hoped, or at least, or she thought, I might have the same situation in the future. And then she doesn't want me to give up just because of the lack of music education. So she felt I should at least have a basic music education. So I don't think she was quite against from the beginning. She was somewhere really hoping, but she knew it's not that easy. So she wanted me to prove that I can get over all hurdles. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All of this that we just discussed, so the whole hospitalization, was that before or after you also traveled internationally? Because I know that you went to Germany and I know that you went to the Netherlands
Yeah.
I believe, for your studies primarily. Was that before or
After, because
that was
after
after?
that,
Okay.
yeah, I got out of hospital, but
Hmm.
still sometimes I felt sick. And then because during the hospitalization, I took so much medicine and it was not that easy to cut all of that suddenly. So you had to adjust little by little to
Yeah, you had to dose it. Hmm.
reduce the amount of the medication.
Yeah, build it off. Hmm.
And also the doctor back then told me I should give up music. And the reason is the music gave me that much pressure. So when I feel I want to do it again, this gives my body the pressure.
That prevents you from recovering. Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
And I tried. But it was so hard because you put whole life until then into music, and suddenly you feel you are told to give it up. That's like impossible. And I tried,
Yeah.
but all my friends are from music scene. They are playing in other bands. And because I was able to play good, I mean, in the show, some musician in the scene didn't believe that I quit because of my illness. And they thought I just using this as an excuse to quit my band. And I got offers from other bands. Why don't you sing in my band? And then every time I had to say no, I felt sad because I wanted to do. And also my band members, like I said, I had this whole group now after 6 years. You know, I put so much energy just to put together these.
Yeah.
But they are now doing their music with a new singer. Actually, it was me who told them to continue with a new singer because I wasn't able to do that, and because I had no idea when I can recover, and I don't want them to wait forever just because of me. Although they told me they will wait. So I told them, no, don't do that. Find a new singer and do it, because finally we are like here from the very tough time, and now people know the band. Get it. But every time you see them playing, you become sad because it was supposed to be singing in this big stage. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot forget music. So
Yeah, just forgetting something and just stopping with something that you just spent a big chunk of your life on.
and so every day I was crying. And then my mom and my dad also, they were worried. They felt like, although I got out of hospital and I'm a bit better now, they thought I might do some suicide or something because of this sadness. And I told them one day, I want to go to Hawaii because without leaving this place, it's impossible to forget. And I also want to study English, something like that. The completely different things from music and with new people. That's how, I went to first Switzerland before Germany.
Well, it's not completely new. You mentioned in the beginning that in order to, get that international stage and to travel internationally as a Japanese singer, you needed to work on your English. So maybe, I don't know if this was a conscious decision on your part, but maybe that's what drove your interest in English.
No, I liked
to begin with.
I liked English all the time, but I had no chance to use it. And also in Japan, really, there's no chance.
Yeah, English is not very well spoken in Japan, I believe, right?
No. Because, for example, when I live in Europe, my English is actually much better than now. But every time I come back, because I have no chance to speak, it gets worse. And so back then too, I studied English at the university, but after graduation, I had completely no chance to use it. So I felt like, okay, I want to brush it up now. And because it's something I like besides music. And if I can do that in a foreign country, which I like, maybe I can forget about music finally, something like that. So, and actually, I remember first I said I want to go to Germany because I love German heavy metal band. And I looked for English conversation school in Germany. But of course, there is no English conversation school. It's Germany. It's only German school. And instead, I found this English conversation school in Switzerland. And I felt, okay, Switzerland is very close to Germany. Maybe I can visit Germany every now and then. Why not? And I went to Switzerland for 3 months.
Mm.
And while I was there, I was able to forget little by little what happened in the past, what happened in Japan. And I was able to start to accept the new life. And I remember my mom told me, Saeko, you might think that you lost everything, but think differently. Just think, you have this whole white campus now in front of you, and you can draw any picture you want. It's still blank. You can draw any kind of picture. So think that way. And I was able to accept this idea. And also, because I was in Switzerland, I was able to see this beautiful scenery in Alpen. And I felt, oh, I'm so small compared with this beautiful lake and the Alpen. And
Was this your first time in Europe?
Yes.
How was that experience for you? Especially because you stayed well, you stayed longer than 3 months. Because you also went to Germany, to Netherlands after that. How was it coming from Japan now to living in Europe?
I felt so free. I was so
Free.
happy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the Swiss people somehow liked me a lot. And I was like, okay. I thought I lost everything in Japan, but wait a minute. Maybe that was nothing. Maybe here is something new. And compared with this vast nature, I'm so small. Probably the biggest problem I had must be also very small. And so I was able to change my mindset, and I started to actually think something different from music. But then I got an email from German fan, and because it was my birthday, and happy birthday, Saeko. And so I wrote back in the email, oh, thank you. Actually, now I'm in Europe. Actually, now I'm in Switzerland. And then he was like, really? It's just there. Why don't you come over to Germany? Because we are going to Wacken Open Air next week. And we still have one ticket left. And we are looking for someone to buy this ticket. This is a gift for you. Please come and join us. Although my doctor said I should forget the music, I told myself, but wait, I don't know, maybe this is the only chance in my life. Maybe I will never be able to come back to Europe. So if this is the only chance, I should be allowed to visit there. And I go there only as a listener. It should be okay. So I went there. And then I was so impressed, like huge. Have you ever been there? It's like so many people all over the world. And the bands are playing, it's like heavy metal dream. And when I saw that, I was like, why? I never had this kind of thing in Japan, especially in Japan. Back then, you had to be Westerners to be accepted as a heavy metal musician. If you are Japanese, no, no chance. So how good we are, it doesn't matter. If you are Japanese, no chance. Things were like that back then. So I was like, oh my God, this is so unfair. Because I like the whole situation, like this heavy metal dream thing. But on the other hand, I was feeling like, okay, this is so unfair because I'm better than I'm better than her. I'm better than that band, like that. But just because I'm Japanese, I will never have the chance to play there. And if I play there, maybe the people in Japan, they change their mind and say, even Japanese bands, even Japanese musician can play there. Maybe Japanese musician is as good as Western musician. And I wanted to change that mindset in the music industry in Japan back then. And the Japanese music industry is mainly idol thing. And back then, especially like a lot of musicians who are on chart, they were not able to sing well. They are often off key. And then like a stupid ba 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 dancing boy group, which might look nice, but do not have any music talent, things like that. But they were able to sell a lot of CDs because they were coupling with a drama series or things like that. Everything was kind of controlled by a few record labels. And the listeners of heavy metal were the people who are fed up with this kind of stupid music. So the idea is the heavy metal coming from the West has so much higher quality than the domestic music controlled by the few CEOs of the record companies. So this mindset is completely fixated. So they start to think like everything coming from Japan sucks, while foreign musicians are great.
Yeah, I think I do understand it. It's very interesting. So let me give you my perspective on it, just to give a different view on it. Japan is good for when it comes to exporting products, right? Japan does a lot of very good things. Japan is gigantic when it comes to their video game industry. Japan is gigantic when it comes to cartoons or anime in this case. You know, they have a couple of really successful movies that came from there. So in that sense, those are typical products that we would consume that from Japan that are highly amazing. Like I told you before the podcast started, for example, one of my big heroes is Hideo Kojima. He is the creator of Metal Gear Solid, and he worked at Konami back in the day. Not anymore, but Konami is also a very big company within Japan. They mainly focus on slot machines, I believe, right now, and card games. But aside from the point, those are things that are very of incredibly high quality from Japan. Those are beautiful products. The music industry, you don't really hear that much from, although that is changing, I think, because you had Korean, K-pop from Korean pop music started, I think, like 10, 15 years ago, that it really started taking off with bands like BTS, for example. And I've noticed that Japan has they call it J-pop, has been taken off as well. But aside from that, I don't really know. So personally, I know a metal band from Japan, but that's because I used to watch anime quite a bit. So one of the bands that I know from Japan is Maximum the Hormone. It's a band that made a song called "What's Up, People," and it was used as the intro song for the second season of the anime Death Note. So that's a band that I know per accident. But To your point, I don't think if you ask somebody in Europe or the United States, give me your top 5 products that come from Japan, I don't think music is gonna be the answer to that question most of the time. And
it is changing, because of internet and everything. So the monopolized situation is kind of falling down. But I mean, back then, like 2000. There was no YouTube, there was no Spotify, so it was more monopolized situation by a few record companies. And
but then I really understand why the Japanese people tend to be more interested in foreign music than in actual Japanese music.
Yeah,
because it was just larger, like you said, specifically in the metal scene, the quality in your words that came from Europe. Was just way higher.
Really much higher. But if you start playing in the scene, actually there are so many good players in Japan, but they didn't have any chance because of they are Japanese. That's why I felt so unfair.
Yeah, so that's what you wanted to change. You wanted to show, like,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
even though I
yes,
am Japanese, I can put something on the table that is really good.
yes. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
no one would try to play in here because it's very risky. You have to leave Japan and come over here. And if you are playing a band, and it's so hard to bring all band members there, how can you survive? How do you earn everyday living? And if you cannot speak English or any other language, how can you? So I felt probably no one would try. But then I thought, wait a minute, I had to give up my own band, so now I'm free. And it's very risky, but if I am alone, I can risk myself. If I'm with my band, I feel like I cannot do it because I feel responsible if we lose. But it's
Right.
completely my own responsibility if I try myself and if I lose myself. So I thought, okay, now I'm alone. I lost everything in Japan. I don't think I can find any band anymore in Japan. Why not here? And I remember I said that to my German fan back then and said like, hey, his name is Alex. Alex, what do you think? I feel like I want to play here. And then he was like, why not? And I went to the landline phone because back then there was no smartphone and there was only one landline phone in the festival place. And I lined up there and then I called to my mom in Japan and said like, hello, I'm now at Wacken Open Air. This is the biggest heavy metal festival in Germany. And I tell you, now I know why I had to quit everything. Now I know why I had to get through all of this, because now the next stage is said, this is the place. I'm gonna come back and sing in Germany and play here. And bye. And then my mom was like, what are you talking? And yeah, so after that I went back to Japan, but when I got recovered completely, and then when I got the kind of how can I say, like a certificate of recovery from my doctor, I flew over to Germany alone.
And then you were the first Asian female that ever performed at the Wacken Open Air Festival. How was that experience for you?
I cannot really explain. It's yeah, and also back then, the bassist from my former band in Japan, which I quit, flew over and played together. So that was special. And then back then she wrote in her blog that, see, if you keep on believing it, it will come true if it is supposed to come true.
All right, I think we are nearing towards the end, Saeko.
Yeah.
After to wrap a couple of things up. So after that festival, I know that you went on a little hiatus and you are about to start again. You're about to come back soon again. Can you tell me what the plan is?
At the moment, the plan is at the end of this month, I'm going to launch the crowdfunding campaign. And before
at the end of January.
To release an EP, to release a mini album.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that, like I said, I had a lot of tough situation due to the pressure from the industry, so I prefer to not to have any money from the industry or the certain company to keep my freedom of expression. And for that, it's always good to get the fund from the listeners who wants to listen to my music, and which is why I do the crowdfunding campaign. And then we're gonna release some mini album and self-covering some old songs. Yes, and also we are planning to release a video music video, and that's gonna be also that the fund should be from this crowdfund campaign. So I hope some of you might help.
I'll certainly link.
I'm not good at promoting myself.
No, to everybody who's watching and listening, we'll definitely put it in the description. That's perfectly fine, and great to hear that you're coming back. If anybody wants to find you, either your music or you as a person, where can they find you?
Oh, I have my website, which is saekometaru.com. No, saekometaru.info. Yeah, and also I have my YouTube channel where you can see some other music videos from the past, and also the old songs are there. And I also have the Facebook, Instagram, and some X account where I'm talking lately a bit too political.
Oh, that's dangerous to do on X.
I shouldn't do that, I know, but anyway.
Yeah. I'll be sure to link it all in the description. So everybody who's watching and listening, if you look in the description or the info field below, that's where you'll be able to find it. Amazing. All right. Beautiful.
I'm sorry that I don't have much interesting story. I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, you're absolutely fine. It was really nice speaking with you, Saeko.
Wait a minute. I have a plan. I am planning to have a podcast like this.
You're planning on launching a podcast?
I might take over you. No. But it's just a joke. But like I said, it was very hard to spread my music on the so-called traditional outlet, traditional media. And I thought maybe I try to have my own channel or something to spread the good music. Yes.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's certainly quite the experience having your own podcast. So if you decide to start with that, the best of luck with that. I really hope it will work out. But it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess so. So I respect you.
Thank you so much, Saeko. It was absolutely a pleasure. You're one of those people I can keep talking to you, and we didn't delve into a whole lot of topics that we discussed up front, right? The Japanese political situation, Japan as a country, how that culture operates fundamentally. There's a whole lot of territory that we didn't explore, so maybe that's a good one to leave for the next time. But so far, thank you for talking with me today, telling your story. It's pretty clear that, it's pretty clear that it's a very personal story that you just laid out, and I'm very happy that you found your way in music, that you are thriving in it, and that you are soon starting it up again. The best of luck to you, Saeko.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kate van Leeuwen podcast. To support the podcast, please consider subscribing or following the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Leaving a comment or a positive review is also a great way to help out. All the resources mentioned in this episode can be found in the description below. Thank you for listening, and take care.